All right. We The Rebbe is talking about what is chazak, chazak, v'nit chazek, that we say at the end of this week's Torah portion of matot and maseh. And it means be strong, and be strengthened. Itchazek, strengthen yourself. We will be strengthened. So it says the whole idea of being strong, this is what's called a chazaka. Chazaka means when you do something 3 times. When you do something 3 times, then it becomes real, stable, certain that you're going to do it more. So especially when you do it 3 times, 3. Chazak is 3. Chazak, v'nit chazek is 3. So the Rebbe says, what does this idea of strength come from? So the Rebbe explains like this. The Jewish people, we're here in the world in order to fix the world up, to make the world and to put the world into working order, according to what the Creator wants. So in order to do this, there's 3 aspects. And then the Rebbe says even 4, even 5. What are these 3 aspects? The 3 aspects are, there's us, then there's the world, then there's God. The third aspect, that makes peace. And there's 2 different ways to make this peace in the world. That's this 3, number 3, that's the chazaka. That's the 3. One way is when it's a gift given to you from above. God gives you an inspiration so that you have power to not be affected negatively by the world and to, yes, affect the world positively. This is according to the Torah. When it comes from above, God gives you an inspiration. And then there's also when it comes from below. It comes from below. So, like for instance, the Jews got out of Egypt. How did they get out of Egypt? God did the whole thing. He gave them the inspiration. He took them, gave them 10 plagues. And he took them, sent them Moses. And God did the whole thing on his own. So that was one way to make, if you want to call it peace, to deal with the negative things in the world. But that's not long lasting. It has the advantage that it's very, very high level of inspiration and reality. But it's not dependable, not long lasting. The best way, if this peace comes from you, from below, that it comes from below, then it's constant. And with you yourself are totally united with the idea that you're living for. This is supposed to be the idea, we talked about it before, of a panimi, of a genuine person. He's truly united with the Torah, with what God wants. So that's more permanent. The problem with that is that it depends on you all the time. Because it depends on you, so it's not as high of a realization. So it says, but if both of these, the ideal is supposed to be that these both are united together. If they're all united together, arousal from below and arousal from above, then that's really true unity. And this is sort of what we're getting to. This is going to be the idea of the Moshiach. This is the difference between Beit HaMikdash, the 2 holy temples, Bayit Rishon and Bayit Sheni, the first temple and the second temple, or the first redemption and the second redemption. The first temple was destroyed by the Babylonians, and we were brought into Babylonian exile for 70 years. The second temple was destroyed by the Romans. In the Romans, in the middle there was also, but the Romans, the Roman exile, that's going to be the second redemption. second redemption. And then there's going to be the Beit HaMikdash HaShlishi, the third temple. And when the third temple is built, this is what's going to be called the third redemption. So what I said maybe is a little bit different. Bayit Rishon is the first redemption. The Jewish people got out of Egypt. That was the finality of the Jewish people getting out of Egypt. The end of the first exile was when the first temple was built. Then the Babylonians destroyed it. That was the first temple. And when we built the second temple, that was the end of the second redemption. Geula Rishona v'Shniya. Right? That was the second redemption. We were redeemed from the Babylonians. So the first temple, that ended, so to speak, the Egyptian exile, because we built a temple. The second, then we were taken into exile by the Babylonians. When did the second exile finish? When we built the second temple. And now we are in a very long, almost 2,000-year-old exile. That will be ended by the third temple. And the third temple, that will signify, that will announce the third redemption. Bayit Rishon, that's the number one. That was built by means of King Solomon. Number one is very good, but it can't take any opposition. Shener Marbo, like it says, V'yeshev Shlomo al Kisei Hashem, like it says that King Solomon sat on the throne of God. The main thing was God, Elyon. God sent it down. Ba'ofen shel hamshacha milamayel lamata. This is like the tzaddikim, something like the first tablets. It was given from above. The first temple, it was all a big gift from God. The Jewish people, they were all at a level of holiness and etc. Kevin Shaloh haya kashur kol kach, it wasn't so much, the first temple wasn't so connected to the world. Therefore, because of that, because it only came from God from above, so therefore it wasn't so settled in the world, and as soon as any sort of disturbance came, it could be destroyed. They didn't know how to deal with opposition. The second temple, that's the number two, this was built by means of those people who came back from Babylon in the days of Ezra, Nehemiah, Zerubbabel. Hayu Iker Inyanim Mitzad Atachton. The second temple, that was the Jewish people repented. They changed their ways. There weren't any big miracles. It just came the time for them to leave the exile. And this was, the main thing was from below to above. This was tshuva. The Jewish people repented. This was, of course, because of the work of Ezra and Nehemiah. Therefore, it was a big connection, more connected to being stable in the world. And therefore, the second temple was bigger in size and in years. Like it says, it says the second temple was bigger than the first temple in years, in size and in years, time. It was bigger building, and also it lasted 10 more years than the first temple. It lasted 420 years, the second. On the other hand, but because the second temple was not built with so much inspiration from above, it all came from below, so therefore everything was more measured and limited. Therefore there was also a destruction, and it stopped. Exactly the opposite. In the time, it was a longer exile, me'achurban v'hefsek beis rishon, more than the first temple. Now we're a longer exile than ever. than ever. V'nosaf lezeh, in addition to this, gam b'zman kiyumo, even when the second temple did exist, lo yatal maila, it was not as holy as the first temple. In other words, from godliness, shechasar heidavurim, it says there were 5 things that were missing. It says that the Urim and the Tumim were missing, and the tablets weren't there. A chiddush, so the first temple, that came from above, but it wasn't so stable in this world. The second temple, that came from below, so it was a little bit longer, lasted, but on the other hand, it wasn't as big of an inspiration. The third temple, which that's going to signify the third redemption, that's the number 3. Hu bechibur ba'achdus ha'elyon v'tachton. Then both of these things will be joined together. Both the revelation of godliness will be greater, and also our ability and to appreciate it and to do the work on our own will be greater. Therefore, the third temple will be ba'ofen chozek v'tokef b'tachlis hashlemus. Therefore, it will be complete. One of the main things of Mashiach is that he's going to wake up all the Jews to Torah and commandments. That's one of the main criterion of Mashiach. He's going to strengthen the Torah and strengthen the commandments. The Jews will all want to do the commandments. The Jews will all learn the Torah in a proper way and connect it to the Creator. And all the details of the Torah will be a tremendous interest and involvement of every Jew. The Jews will feel the godliness of the Torah and the commandments. So that's working from below. But on the other hand, there's going to be a bigger revelation of God. There'll be more inspiration. Therefore, putting these two things together, that'll make a geula nitzchis. That'll be an eternal redemption, a shir chadash, like it says, not a shira chadasha, not feminine, a song in the feminine, which feminine is weaker. It depends on receiving, but it'll be a shir chadash, a strong new song, geula, a redemption that there's no exile after it. That'll be in a Beit HaMikdash Nitzchi and an eternal third temple. Third temple. Okay, in this world, it's sort of eternal is sort of like a nasty word in this world. Eternal. Right? Everybody sort of looks forward to dying, and nobody wants to die. But on the other hand, it's not so. Here we had just these big battles and these big wars. Abortion is really a big thing now. Killing people, not to bring people in the world. Too many people in the world. They want a lengthened life, but not a really healthy life to be. Right? For a person just to live, who needs it? Right? It has to be healthy life. You have to have fun, a life full of fun. You can't have any fun. You can't have this. It's not worth. But that's a big lie. It's a big selfish, terrible, ugly lie. The fact of the matter is man was created to live forever, and to be healthy forever, and to have a meaningful life forever. Man is created forever. God is forever. Man is in the image of God. You can ask a question, won't a person get bored doing the whole thing? No, every second a person will realize that every second presents new challenges. Every second presents new opportunities to say words of Torah, to do a commandment, to appreciate the creation more, to appreciate the Creator more. He says that's going to be the third redemption. It's going to be more revelations from above, but on the other hand, we will be vessels to reveal it. In other words, to accept it. The potential godliness will come from inside of us as well, instead of just egotism coming from us. Yesh Lomer, we can say, Shamaylas HaChozek VaTokef, the Beis HaMikdash Shlishi, this whole thing of the third temple and the third redemption, this will be stressed in the fact that the future redemption is sometimes it's called the fourth redemption and sometimes it's called the fifth redemption. Why? Because when it talks about how many exiles the Jewish people were in, if you look in the Torah in Parshas Va'era, where it talks about these, it says, what is it? V'hitzalti, go'alti, v'lakachti. There's 4 or 5 expressions of redemption. Of redemption. Where is it? Here. Excuse me one moment. Here. It says, Vayom Shem al Moshe, Vayomer Ani Hashem Abraham, and it says, here we go. And it says, Hotzeti etchem, hitzalti etchem, goalti etchem, lakachti etchem. Right, that's 4. And then there's veheveti etchem, number 5. And some say that this corresponds to the 5 exiles, or the 4 exiles that the Jewish people were in. Egypt and Babylon. And then it says there was exile of Persia and Greece. And the final one that we're in is Rome. That's the 4th one. But some people throw in another one, Madai. Of Madai. Maybe Madai is also Greece. In any case, some say that there was 4 exiles and some say 5. The Darga Miucheres, so, and the number 3, it represents eternal. But there's also the number 4 and the number 5. Now you have to remember that the number 4, okay, well, the Rebbe will talk about this. This is also representing something in spirituality. This is a special level in itself, 4 and 5. Shekiven she'enu b'meshech la'achar le'echad mish. Shekiven she'enu b'hemshech le'echad v'shtayim. Since the number 4 isn't directly after 1 and 2, which we said 1 and 2 refers to God and the world. So the number 4 all of a sudden jumps in. 3 is already harmony between upper and lower. What does 4 represent? So the number 4, this represents a level which is higher than even unifying the upper and the lower. Therefore, Nasa al Yadah Chibur the Elyon v'Tachton. Therefore, it's a different type of a joining of upper and lower. A different type of joining. What does this mean? Maybe I could give you an example. I'll give you an example. A person that was healthy and he became sick. A person that was young, he became old. Right? And then he goes to someone, gives him a pill, gives him a thing, and all of a sudden he becomes young again. So young again. So what does it mean? He was sick and he was healthy, and then he was healthy and then was sick. And then all of a sudden it joins the two things together. He gets the experience of being old, but also the youth of being young. So he goes back to what he was before. But it's also added on the other thing, the experience that he had of being sick, and now he this is like the previous Rebbe. He said that he wouldn't give up for $1 million the experience that he had when he was put into prison and he was tortured. To do it again, he would never do it for $1 million. But the experience, in other words, unifying the bad and the good together, that's like number 3. But then sometimes there comes out from this number 3, the unifying of bad and good together, the experience and the harmony that comes from it, a whole totally new level, which is not relevant at all to this whole entire business of bad and good and resolution and etc. Synthesis. That's the number 4. 4 represents a totally new level of godliness being revealed in the world that's never been revealed before, even to Adam. This is the idea of the power. Shabbat Chazak. This is the coming Shabbat. In the 4th book of the Torah, number 4, the 4th book of the Torah is the book of Numbers, right? Bamidbar. Which is in these days of the 3 weeks, Bein HaMetzarim, which are between the 17th of Tammuz, when the tablets were broken and when they began to break into the walls of Jerusalem, and Tisha B'Av, when they actually destroyed the first and second temple. Ba'achraza, that's why we yell out in this Shabbat, right before Tisha B'Av, we yell out Chazak v'Chazak v'Nitchazek, a triple strength. Shebeshabbat Parshas Matas Mata, because in this Shabbat we're hinting at this high level, which is available, which is real. Meromezet, this hints at a chazaka. This is the strength of the 3rd temple and the third redemption that comes after the joining between the 1st temple, which came from above, the 2nd temple, which came from below, after the interruption of the destruction of the 1st and 2nd temple, And this will be joining together the first and the second temple, the upper and the lower, drawing down and raising up. That this is what's going to be symbolized by matot. Matot, we says, was power, the staff. Matot means a staff, coming from above to below, and masai means traveling around, the going from below to above. And this will be, this joining of all these things together will reveal a totally new level in the world that's never been revealed before, and that's the number 4. Who, and the Odin, even this is the main thing, Al Yadei Zeh, by means that we finish the 4th book, and the power which comes after that, in the time of Mincha, we begin the 5th book of the Torah. This is even a higher level. This sort of corresponds to, like, for instance, the raising of the dead. It says, this indicates on a level which is totally above all limitations, even that of upper and lower, and even being above upper and lower. Sha'al Yadada, by means of the number, this 5th level, Nasa will be drawn, will join together the upper and the lower level of the 3rd temple and the future redemption. I'm sorry. Okay, so we said that the 3rd temple is represented by the number 3. What joins it together is the number 4. That's going to be a new level in the world. But then after that, there's going to be even a higher level, something like the raising of the dead. This is going to be even higher than anything that's related to this world at all. And the Rebbe is not going to talk about this, but let's just say, for example, that's like the raising of the dead. There's never been exactly the thing of the raising. There has been examples of raising of the dead. It says Elijah, the prophet, he enlivened, he raised up a dead boy, brought a dead boy to life. And Elisha also did. What do they call it? Elijah, Elisha. And that it says that the prophet Yechezkel, he enlivened, brought the 20,000 dead bodies, just bones, he brought them all together. So it's been something like that has been before. It says also Mount Sinai was but the real idea of the raising of the dead has never really been before, that all of the dead are going to raise up. They'll all be in bodies. This level, that's the 5th level. This shows at a level which is totally above anything, even it's above even being above the number 3. So it's a whole different level of godliness that's never been anything closely revealed in the world before. The Yeshlom, we can say, what comes down to is we don't really know what we're accomplishing when we do something good in the world. We don't know how infinitely important the physical world is. Maybe we can say Sheprati Misparim, that all these different numbers are relevant to the future redemption, the future 3rd temple, and which is hinted at also in the time when we read Masa Matan, and we say Chazak Chazak V'nit Chazek. When are we doing all this business of saying be strong, be strengthened, and we're talking about journeying and being revelations from above, revelations from below, and the number 4. All this is occurring when? In the 3 weeks of mourning and the 3 weeks of remembering this terrible tragedy, the worst tragedy ever that happened in the Jewish history, of the destruction of the Jewish temple and the driving out of the Jews from the land of Israel. This is hinted at the 3rd temple and the 3rd redemption in the 4th month. When we read Matos V'Masai at the end of this month of Tammuz, right? This is the 4th redemption, and in the 5th month, like in this year, the Matos V'Masai comes out in the 5th month. Geula Chamishi, the 5th redemption. Right? There's Nisan and Iyar and Sivan and Tammuz. And when are we going to be reading this Parshas Matos V'Masai? In the month of Av, which is the 5th month. It's going to be the first day of the month, on Shabbat. So that's number 5. So all of these numbers are all included together. We're finishing, it's in the 3 weeks. We're finishing the 4th book, and we're reading it in the 5th month. This is all hinting at things that are not just, it's not a science fiction book or whatever. This is really what's waiting for the Jewish people and for the whole world. And this will strengthen us to do Torah and the commandments. And especially too, Maseinu v'Avodatenu, our service and our work, the whole entire course of the exile. Not just these 3 weeks. This whole 2,000 years after the destruction of the Second Temple and the exile that we've been put into. That because of this, by means of this terrible exile that we've been in for the last almost 2,000 years, we can come to really be strong. And Geula Amitit V'Shlema, the true redemption, and the 3rd temple. And the Rebbe will explain even more. God willing, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Here, let's do the Yom Yom. Yom Yom Chabad. In Torah study, a person has to understand the topic. That's the idea of Torah, is understanding. Not just reading the words. That's the whole idea of the Talmud and all the... We're trying to understand the topic to its fullest. That's Torah studying. What about prayer? Prayer, we're devoting ourselves to what's above understanding. To God. When we learn Torah, a Jew feels like he's a pupil with his master. In prayer, you're like a child with his father. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow, have a good day with Moshiach now.